Good evening, everyone. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that. Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist.
What's going on, Dwayne? How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. How about yourself? Hey, tell,
Good,
tell
good.
us who are you? What do you do?
Why am I here? I'm David Piatek, founder of VA Housing Education. I'm also the director of government lending at Waterman Bank. Also an Army veteran. I've been serving 15 years, so love the veteran community and giving back the knowledge we've learned over the years in the lending space, just like Dwayne doing on I got a video for that Kimball, talking about VA disability stuff. Yeah, we just wanted to do almost an emergency video because of what's happening in the markets. I know there's a lot of changes with the VA. I saw some of your recent videos about some major changes that have come about. So that's why we decided to jump on a call while I'm traveling and give the people what they need.
Give the people what they want. Yeah. So I'm going to be putting in the chat tonight. I'm doing a VA compensation event next Tuesday and Thursday, the 13th and the 14th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the chat. Well, that's the monthly membership, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put the link for the event as well. So if you're interested in my veteran monthly membership, go ahead and click that link, get signed up. We still have seats available. Also, I'm going to put the link for the event next week. Also, I'm going to put another link if you need a mental health DBQ, disability benefit questionnaire. You can reach out to Tampa Counseling and Wellness. They are a veteran minority owned business that knows how to do DBQs and nexus statements. So, David,
Yes.
I received your newsletter, and I was
Ooh,
reading in that newsletter, real cool newsletter,
thank you.
where you were talking about, before we get into the interest rate drops, but I think this is important. You were
Yep.
talking about in your newsletter that now veterans can roll their the real estate agent fees into the home mortgage. So if you haven't went to vahousingeducation.com, go there, get on David's newsletter. Okay, even though I'm not buying a house or refinancing, that newsletter had a lot of good information. So Dave, you go ahead and take it away.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, so one of the major changes that's happening this Saturday, and I wonder why the government put it on a weekend when they're not working, but that's we can't figure that out, right? So as of this Saturday, veterans will be able to pay real estate commission fees, which before was prohibited. And just to kind of give you a quick catch up, right? NAR was sued with a couple other companies. They lost, and basically all other loan products were able to let people pay for real estate commission fees minus veterans, because their logic was for the longest time that veterans are able to search for properties online and it was relatively available. NAR wrote a letter to the VA to ask them to do it, right? And we know it's a double-edged sword. And I'll comment on what you said, Dwayne, here in a second. So the basic gist of it is that normally, or I guess normal, your buyer's agent would be compensated by the seller's agent. Okay. Now everything is negotiated between the buyer and the buyer's agent and the seller and the seller's agent. So it doesn't mean that those co-ops are going away completely, right? It's just an option now. Big change to that, which I may also do a video on that because that is in full effect next Saturday. So big changes back to back, right? This Saturday is the VA rules officially changing. And then next Saturday, all MLSs have to comply to these new changes that are associated with the National Association of Realtors. And what you mentioned, Dwayne, is something that is possible, right? So in your negotiation for when you're buying a home, you will know if a co-op is included in that or it's not, meaning is your agent going to be paid for, or do you have to pay for those fees out of pocket? And no, you will have to sign a contract with a realtor before they can even show you a home. Okay, that's pretty big. And you must read that contract. I'm not an attorney, right? This is just based on me reviewing it and doing this all the time. And this is also on the NAR's website. So I can also drop a link to that in the chat. I'll do that right now. Kind of, it talks about all the different facts that are associated with that lawsuit. So you guys want to check that out, check it out.
So Dave, let me understand. Now, I know in the past, the seller had to pay both agent fees, correct? Am I correct in saying that?
Well, they didn't have to. It was never really discussed to make that an option. From my understanding, right? So traditionally, sellers would pay for that.
But now the buyer has to pay their agent and the seller pays that agent.
Well, see, this is where it gets confusing, right?
Uh-oh.
You have to negotiate with your agent what their commission is going to be before they even start showing you properties. Okay. So just imagine if you want to go look at a place, and hypothetically, let's say I was the realtor. In that event, I would have to sign an agreement with you, and you'd be like, all right, Dwayne, this is my fee. And there's no standardization of these fees either, right? They are fully negotiated. So when someone says, oh, it's a regular standard fee, that doesn't exist. That's the whole point of the lawsuit, right? So let's say hypothetically, for educational purposes, as an example, the big disclaimer, right? Let's say you're looking for properties, and I say, well, Dwayne, my fee is $15,000, for example. And you say, okay, I will pay you that fee if you find a house, and these are all the different things that I'll do for you. So everything has to be laid out now, right? So it's very transparent on the services you're going to get. And then let's say we go out and look at a house that's, let's say, hypothetically $1 million. And they don't offer a co-op to pay the agent. Then you would then have to pay me the $15,000 because that's what we negotiated, okay? But let's say the sellers do pay a co-op, and let's say it's $30,000. You still will only have to pay $15,000. It's negotiated on both sides now, not like before. It was primarily negotiated on the seller side. So that's a huge change, because home ownership has gotten expensive over the years, and obviously historically values have gone up. But we did also have the big crash in 2008 where values took a big dive until people realized, like, wait a second, it's cheaper to buy than rent. Now it's kind of tough, right? Depending on what market you're in. But that's something you guys, talk to a professional about that's in real estate that can walk you through that piece. So one of the things that you mentioned, Dwayne, is that, what happens with those realtor fees? Can you roll them into the mortgage? So there's a way you can by negotiation, right? So if, let's say, for example, the house is $200,000, and you pay $5,000 in the fees, you can ask to buy it at $205,000, and then that way it could be covered. Now, the downside to that, and I'm sure there's others, is that what if the property doesn't appraise for that? You're still out of pocket. So I would never assume that you're not paying anything. You want to definitely be able to take a look at it. And they also took out all the real estate commissions out of all the MLS systems. So like, that's the thing. Like, in order for you to even find out if the sellers are offering a co-op, the agent has to call the other agent and ask them. So they made it very manual. So that's kind of the process to that now.
Okay. All right. Let's get into a couple of questions, then we'll come back and get into the hot topic of the rates that dropped. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Brian Estrada, when filing for a secondary claim, do you need the CMP exam on the second, or do you send in medical documentation that connected? It depends on how you want to do that, Brian. When you do, you got to keep in mind the primary condition has to be service connected. Okay, first of all, and you file the claim, put it in, they send you for a CMP exam, and you need a diagnosis. Okay, so just make sure you have that. You don't have to, but it makes it a lot easier and it increases your chances. Okay. Plus, I'm not exactly sure how to file this secondary claim. Okay, so Brian, what I did was I put a link to a private Q&A session with myself or one of my associates, and we're not going to be telling you how to do it. We're going to be explaining what's secondary. What does it mean? Showing you the VA regulations. Okay, what criteria does a VA require? Okay, because that's the education piece is important. Then you can move forward with that. So if that's something you're interested in, um, definitely reach out. I got a video for that. Yep. Somebody gave me that name. I was in a training session. And Dave, I guess I kept saying, and I just got out of a Zoom. I kept saying, guess what? I got a video on that on my YouTube channel. And he's like, man, you ought to change the name to Dwayne. I got a video for that Kimball. So that's the name change. All right. Dito girl. I think Dito girl is
What's
still trying to
up?
get that house in Louisiana. Wasn't it? Somewhere. What's up, fellas? Hadn't been here for a while from San Antonio because you were getting with David buying that house, I think, in Louisiana somewhere, right? Yeah. I remember you, Mr. Green. I think I answered one of your comments on my YouTube channel this morning or yesterday morning. I remember that. We got 58 people, 9 likes. We got 86 people, and we only have 9 likes. What? Come on,
We
let's
gotta get
get it
those
up.
numbers up.
Let's get it up. Yeah. Hello, Battles. What's good? Hey, nothing going
A
on
lot
but
of
the
things.
rent. Yeah. Here's Chris. Remember Chris when he came
Oh yeah,
on?
I remember Chris.
Yeah, San Antonio. Thanks, gents, for all the info you guys always put out. Yep,
Yeah,
we try to
some of
get
these
this
guys were on our
information.
12-hour live stream.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll do a couple more, then we get back to David. Carlos, I went to a CMP exam for a TDIU, and a private doctor didn't have my records. That is a problem. That is a problem. I've been hearing that a lot. They should have access to what is called VBMS. That's where the VA houses all the electronic claims files, and VBSA and VBSR, where VSRs, RVSRs, they go in and they do the ratings. But the doctor should have been reaching out to the VA and say, "Hey, I got this vet coming in. I need access to those records." Okay. Okay, this is for you, Dave. Do I have to use a lender? Okay, it's for you, Dave.
So
That's
yeah, I
good
guess the
job.
question is that if you're getting a loan, then yes, you're going to have to use some type of lending institution to get the loan. If the question is, do you have to use a realtor? You actually don't need to use a realtor to purchase a property. You can do it all on your own.
Here's another question for you, David.
Real estate commissions to buyers are paid by the seller. I don't understand the changes. Yeah, so Tammy, so that's something that has now changed with this lawsuit, right? A lot of people are unaware of this. So those are no longer required to be paid for by sellers. The buyer and the buyer's agent, they're the ones who negotiate ahead of time what the fee structure will look like. It's confusing because it's been a long time since something like this has happened, especially in real estate. It is a huge game changer. So again, you as a buyer and your buyer's agent pre-negotiate what the fee is going to be. The sellers don't offer that fee. Then you are responsible for paying your agent for that fee, right? This is new. This is all into effect for VA loans as of Monday. And nationwide, most places have already changed it where you have to, they're not showing the co-ops commissions, but officially as of August 17th, the entire MLS system is supposed to be revamped.
Okay. We're going to take one more, Dave, before you get into that. It's Chris.
Yeah, Chris, is your opinion, would you say we are in a buyers or sellers market at the moment? So that's a tricky question because every single market is different, right? And so when you look at markets, you look at how long inventory is on the book. So, what they typically say, if there's more than a 6-month supply of homes, it's a buyer's market. Otherwise, it's a seller's market. I would say that right now, sellers do have an upper hand just because of limited inventory and people are still actively looking. And then when you combine that when rates drop, then even more people enter the market, right? So I'm always saying, Dwayne and I's 1-year anniversary doing live streams was over the weekend. So again, thank you for everyone's support and all this. Yeah, we met while I was looking up stuff for myself, and I'm like, you know what, Dwayne, what's up? We're going to figure this out. So that's the thing. Like, and in some markets, you'll see that there's a downshift, right? Home values are reducing 50, 75,000, whatever it may be, just because they want to be able to sell their properties. So that's one indicator. If you're looking at all the homes and all the homes are dropping in value, that is a good indicator that things are shifting. And normally during the summer months, just historically, right? During the summer months, it's kind of the busiest because people then either if they have kids and not in school, that's the best time for them to buy versus trying to do it during the fall, winter, and springtime, right? But that's also where the largest opportunities lie. Like I'm always saying, like wintertime is the best time to buy. Well, at least the best time to get a deal, right? Like I bought it in December, got a good deal. Almost a lot of the people that, looking back between like November, December, January, a lot of times they're able to get seller credits, right? So those are things that you got to kind of think of as you're doing it, but you have to research the market, right? Every market's going to be different. It is hyper located to your specific area, not even just like within a city, but within the neighborhoods as well. Values and how hot the market is going to shift.
Right. Okay. So Dave, tell us a little bit about the interest rates that dropped.
Yeah. So there's a craziness. If you guys, if you're in America and you turn anything on, you'll see kind of all the madness that's been happening over the last week. There's some predictions that next month the Fed is going to cut the rate. It's not for sure, right? It's speculation, but there's a high certainty is what they say. Remember, check out those, do the research on that. And then last week too, with the jobs report and everything else that happened, it's somewhat bounced back, but still a lot of opportunity, especially for people that have bought homes in the last year to 2 years. There could be a really good opportunity to do what's called an interest rate reduction refinance loan. So, Dwayne, are you familiar with these?
The
interest rate reduction refinance loans?
I've heard you talk about them.
Oh yeah. So I'll break it down a little bit. If you guys have more questions, drop them down in the comments. So basically the way it works is that if you have an existing VA home loan, you can do a rate and term refinance on that property. There's a lot of pluses to it because one, it's a pretty simple process. Two, no appraisal needs to be completed. And you just need to verify a source of income. I mean, there's a lot more caveats which I'm going to go over. So a source of income is even if you collect 10% disability, you can still qualify for one of these interest rate reduction refinance loans. A couple caveats that is that one, you have to have at least made 6 mortgage payments, and it's been 210 days since your last since you made your first payment to qualify. The cool thing about these is that sometimes people will be like, well, I have to refinance it into another 30-year mortgage. But the cool thing is you can do odd term refinances with these, which includes 20, 21, 22, 23, all the way up to 30-year mortgage in between that. So if you're like, I've already made a year worth of payments, you could do the loan and do a 29-year mortgage, which is pretty cool. So no appraisal. The other part to it is that closing costs are also somewhat limited, that you have to recover your closing costs within 36 months. So if you're, let's say, saving $10 a month, well, most likely that's not going to make sense, okay? You should be saving like a good amount of money on a monthly basis so you can recover the cost of refinancing the loan. The cost of loans varies widely across the country, right? No matter, it could change on the city, county, and the state. So definitely, if you have questions on it, feel free to reach out to us. I know that my link is down below in the description. You can schedule a call or do an application to do that. And really, where I feel it makes sense, or at least to look at it, right? Because everyone's financial situation is different, right? I'm not talking from a financial advisor perspective. Really, if your rates, for example, are 6.5 or higher, well, that's something you'd want to look at to say, you know what, maybe I can save some money. And sometimes, the savings could be a lot or a little, but it really depends on your financial picture. So just huge benefits to them to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, that's some good information there.
Yeah.
So let's get back to a couple of questions here. Brian says, "Is it the training session that you have coming up, or do you have a separate session?" So, the training session is next week, the 13th and 14th. Brian, the link is in the comment section of this. In the comment section over there, I'm looking at. Okay. Yep. Says right. So, Dito, did you purchase? If you don't mind me asking, do you get the house in Louisiana? You know, me and Dave want to come down there and wrestle some alligators and eat some
Alligators,
crawfish.
man, that'd be. I don't know about that.
For the secondary condition on the session. Okay, so yeah, Brian, the class I'm giving next week, it's on different topics, just not secondary conditions. I do cover secondary conditions, but it's it's over 2 days, 2 hours each day. Art that matters. I received your book, Bunny, and finished reading it Tuesday. Okay,
Dang.
you left me hanging. Did you like it? did you like it? All right. I have a diagnosis of PTSD and I was denied sleep apnea. Can I request an additional medical opinion because I read my explanation for denial and didn't see that they considered the PTSD meds I'm on? You got to look at the if you went to the CMP exam, you got to get a copy of the CMP exam to see why the doctor said no. That's part of the rationale. So if you had a CMP exam, compensation and pension exam, it's the doctor that said no. You have to figure out why that doctor said no. That's key. Robin, thanks for your overall service. Hey, I definitely appreciate it. I was going through the comments earlier. I did have to put somebody in timeout. Negative comments. We do not allow negative comments. Like Dave said, we've been doing this for a whole year. And I've done these during hurricanes. I've done these where I had COVID. I even think Chris was on that night. It's crazy. A couple years ago. Yeah, he probably was. I know Chris probably was. But, this is free information. And so one thing I do not allow is name calling, nothing like that. That will put you in timeout. That will get you blocked. I know from my channel, my family's they in there. My daughter just came over, and I'm like, man, I need to go in there and say hi. I just got off of Zoom. I was on another Zoom earlier this morning. This is free information that we're giving you all. Okay, free. So we love doing it. When we did that 12 hours, Dave, have you seen anybody
Nobody
after that do 12 hours? It's crazy.
I went to like a YouTube conference not too long ago, and I was telling the people that we did a 12-hour, and they're just like, why would you do that? But we did it, and we had questions all the way to the end.
Yep.
So
and we answered every single question too.
We answered every question.
Yeah.
For once. Yeah. Okay, so can I purchase a second home as a rental with the VA home loan? So the answer to that is no. The VA loan is designed to be your primary residence. So even if you, let's say, buy a multifamily property, you still have to live in one of the units. Now, the only exception to that is if you're on active duty, then a spouse or child could meet that dependency requirement. So keep that in mind.
Right. Hello, first time catching live question. What should I do when the VA scheduled me a CMP exam, even though I have a diagnosis as by a certified VA doctor already? They said that they want a second opinion. Yeah, so the VA Medical Center is a separate internal entity than the CMP exam. Okay. It's good that you have a diagnosis. I think that helps your chances, but you got to go to the CMP exam, see that doctor, and get that medical opinion. Dave, this is for you.
Can I use if I receive a grant to my? I would need a bit more details in it. That one's a little bit vague because you can get grants, or it depends on how the grants are structured. Okay. And they also have to be able to go through the VA. But sometimes like down payment assistance programs, they can be coupled with a VA home loan. So they could be an option. Just be careful with that because there's a lot of restrictions to using those. And a modification to a home loan is something that I would definitely need to get very detailed information on that. Happy to go over with you if you schedule calls me down below and answer anything that you have around that. But that's a good question.
Okay. And I put Dave's YouTube channel in the comment section. I'm going to put it again. So definitely follow him on YouTube. Has a lot of good videos. Make sure you go over there and you subscribe to his channel. All right. My husband went to a private doctor who diagnosed him a year ago after leaving service. Can he make a claim? Yes. Where does it fall under the 5 ways of service connection? Okay. I got videos on that, and that's something that you need to know before you file your VA claim. And Dave, I was going to ask you to discuss this again, but somebody had the
Oh,
question.
what's going on? No, we talked about it. I think she joined a little bit later. So yeah, so
Okay.
so as of right now, with the market shifting, there could be an opportunity to reduce your payment by doing an interest rate reduction refinance loan. And so for people that have, I want to touch base actually on one thing, that people that didn't, that have more than 210 days from their first payment, or they recently closed on their property, there's definitely hope for you down the line to be able to do these interest rate reduction refinance loans. And the thing is that there is technically no limit on how many of these you can do. But you have to be very careful, right? I think there's the caveat to that, where a lot of people right now are getting tons of marketing. I'm on a do not call list, and I got 23 phone calls to do an interest rate reduction refinance loan the other day. I'm like, how do these people even call me? And I'm sure everyone's getting blown up on it. You have to read the fine print, because a lot of times if something is too good to be true, that means you're paying money for that, right? So always double check a fee itemization, look at a loan estimate, make sure you research the company to make sure they're legit, okay? Because you don't want to get scammed out of anything. And also you don't want to be what's called equity stripping. Okay. Now there's a couple things that you can do, or people will tell you that you have to be careful about. They'll say things like, oh, it's free to refinance. Well, Dwayne, is there anything free in life?
No.
No. There's always something that you're paying for. And I'll tell this to folks. A lot of times people will make it seem like it's a really good idea, because they'll say, oh, well, the costs are rolled in, or it doesn't cost you anything because you have to roll it in. It did cost you something, because it's taking equity away from your property. Okay. But there's caveats to that, where you can do it in a way which it makes sense, right? And again, every state's got different fees. You really have to be careful with that and look at the numbers. If you close early in the month, you have the opportunity or the potential to not pay that month's mortgage payment in the following months. If you have to pay taxes and insurance, you have to reset all of that up, right? So your mortgage balance is most likely going to increase. Now you have the option of taking that money out of pocket and paying for it. So if you want to be able to do it in a way where, yes, your mortgage balance goes up, but how do you reduce that amount, is take those 2 payments you save and take that escrow money you get back from your current servicer and pay down the mortgage with a principal reduction. Unless you need that money for something else, like you're paying off like high debt, or you have a project that's coming up, okay, that's at your discretion, because you don't have to take that money and put it back in the mortgage. But just do the math on there. I mean, we always look at it as well, because if I'm looking at something where I'm like, you know what, this is on the fence, it might make sense, it might not, from a professional opinion, we'll let you know that, because if it doesn't make sense, then don't do it.
Right. Because even like you said, when you roll it in, just think if you pay $2, say, oh, it's going to cost you, it's free, but we're going to roll in the mortgage, and it's $2. You're doing 30-year fix. You're paying interest on that $2, and what it's going to look like at the end. Is it $2 going to look like $2,000 or whatever?
Right.
Like you said, it takes away from the equity. And they do that with cars. Oh, we'll just roll it in. I told my wife, no, we'll pay cash for that, because we're not going to
Yeah.
pay 5-6 years on taxes. But people, they just think, oh, I'm not coming out of pocket now, instead of saving and say, okay, well, I'm getting a lower monthly car payment, right? And by not rolling, paying those taxes.
Right.
All
You're
right.
still going to have those costs incurred, but again, there's a way that you can really mitigate that by, or not mitigate it, but reducing it by taking those 2 months that you would have saved. But again, some people, life happens, you might need a break, but still there's things in place like 0.5% lower interest rate. You have to recover your closing costs within 36 recoupment period. But do note that escrows do not count towards that. And also, if you have to pay transfer taxes on a refinance, you might be saying, like, how does that make sense? Florida is like that. So when you refi, you have to pay taxes again.
Yeah.
So all those things factor in.
Yeah. Who benefit? Oh. No, he didn't. Okay. Let's see. Check this out. Boom. All right. We'll go to that question. There we go.
Is this required for a buyer to pay the real commission for all buyers or some who? So this is something that is nationwide now for every single body. Okay. But again, it is a pre-negotiated term. So this, I know it's confusing because this is like, people are like, this hasn't been like this for a very long time, right? Back in the day, people weren't represented, buyers, so they decided to say, hey, now we can kind of do the old structure. Moving forward, remember, you are negotiating with the the buyer's agent, and you as a buyer are pre-negotiating all the terms. If the sellers are offering a co-op to pay your agent, if it's more than you negotiated, they're only getting what they negotiated with you. If it's less, then you have to come out of pocket for the difference. Right? So it's a foreign concept because it is hard, because there's a lot of shifting pieces to this. But yeah, that's exactly, yeah. So everyone was allowed to do it except for veterans. Now, as of the 10th of this month, they are allowed to do it. They're allowed to be charged these fees.
It's for you, David.
Oh, Chris is always coming up with some hard questions over here.
Yeah, look at him.
The Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis is a good source of news for interest rates and gauging the potential trajectory of rates. I mean, I would expect nothing less.
The preponderance of evidence.
I know.
What's the difference between Chris? What about the Federal Reserve Bank in Kansas City? What about that one?
Yeah. All right. So listen, this is what I will share with you, because normally when we're looking at rates, we're looking at the 10-year treasury, right? So when someone's like, well, markets are crazy, I'm looking at the 10-year treasury to see what's going on, right? Now, if you want to look at like, oh, what's the markets doing overall, I'll post the website here, which is Mortgage News Daily. You can technically see what they're doing. It's tough when you look at some of these websites because I don't know, like, you have to see where they're getting their data from, number one, okay? And two, it's also based on bank margins. There's a lot of factors that go into how they actually come up with those rates. And every institution, to be honest, is very different, right? That's my 2 cents.
Oh, okay. I thought you were still going.
No, I can talk forever. I mean,
I thought
I
you were
can
still
talk for
going.
12 hours,
okay.
and I have proof of that.
Okay. All right. This is for you, Dave.
Is a credit score a factor when it comes to refinancing and interest rate? Yes, it is one of the factors when it comes to refinancing your property. So, right, when you look at the scale, typically the higher interest rates get better terms than lower rates. One thing that I actually want to mention is you can do an interest rate reduction refinance loan on an investment property or a second home. This is super unique, okay? Because you can't buy a home with as an investment property or a second home. But if that VA loan turns into a second home or investment property, this is the only time that you can refinance with an interest rate reduction refinance loan and get owner-occupied rates.
Yeah. So, Dave, before we get into the next question, I was in a Zoom right before this one, and somebody asked me this question, and I was like, I think I already know the answer, but I didn't want to touch on it. Can a service member that has passed away, can a family member use their certificate of eligibility now? Like, say they're 100% permanent total. I don't know if it's one of the requirements or not.
So we do get this question quite often. So if a veteran just if you're on active duty and you pass away and you're married, your spouse, as long as you get the what's it called, the indemnity
Yep.
compensation,
DIC.
right?
DIC.
Yeah,
Yep.
DIC. Then a spouse can then go and submit a request for a certificate of eligibility. So the first time you do it, you need to go to that. I also have a video on that on my YouTube channel for surviving spouses. So you guys check that out because that has all the details in it. There's a lot of stuff to remember, but yeah, definitely like a spouse that is receiving that, yes. And then if you pass away from certain service-connected disabilities, or you pass away from your service-connected disability, then if they qualify for the indemnity compensation, typically then they'll qualify also for the VA home loan, and then they'll be able to use it. So kids can't use that VA home loan. But you can then use that. Now, what you mentioned about those property taxes, I also did a whole video on how to search property tax breaks, because that is very important to understand it, especially if you're a surviving spouse. Because depending on their conditions, and if they had 100% permanent total, depending on the state, how much income, all of that's going to be a factor depending on where you are, is to take a look at that. And this is also something important. I'm not an attorney, but this is just my opinion because I'm doing it myself. Is you can always take a VA home loan and put it in a trust. You must close it in your name, but then you can put it in a trust. That's really the only way where it's going to be protected from anyone foreclosing on it, those benefits being on the property, and then you kids can stay in the property. And as long as the mortgage payments are made, you're pretty good.
All right. Next question. This is for you, David.
Yeah, see, this is the $1 million question. If I knew this, I don't know, I'd still be here. I'll say that. But I'm just saying that that's hard. And I'll tell you my experience, okay? When interest rates took a big plummet, almost everyone I helped refinanced exactly a year later, right? So remember when rates were like 2.25? Well, they first dropped to like, and again, this is kind of for educational purposes only. So when rates were dropped really low, they dropped low once and everyone jumped on it. And then they dropped again and they went even lower. And the challenge always is that if you wait, then you have the opposite risk. You have lost your opportunity to save money. You can refinance. There's no limit. But again, I'm not saying that that's a smart thing to do because everyone's situation is different. You have to look at your financial picture. Do you take those 2 months you save plus the escrow and pay down your mortgage so you kind of back to where you started? Do you do an odd term refinance, do 29 years because you've already made a year's of payment, right? All those things are going to be factored in. So it's up to you really is, will rates drop? I'd be probably billionaire by now if I knew exactly how the market's going to work. Right?
Man.
The Fed comes out and says like, "Oh, we're going to drop rates," and then next thing, a week later, they're like, "Just kidding, we're going to keep them the same." And it's like, and you play this vicious circle, and then there's all this fear mongering online of people talking about the end of the world is coming, and I'm thinking to myself like, how many times have we heard this story? And we keep falling for it. So at this point, I don't even care anymore. I'm just like, I don't, because the thing is that you got to focus on you, right? If saving 0.5% of interest rate on $1 million mortgage, that's going to be a pretty significant change. If you have a lower balance and you're saving $70 a month, like, is it worth then to do it if you're saving $70 a month, right? So you have those questions first that you have to answer, because fear of missing a FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Like, yeah. It's also like the people that were waiting when rates were really low and they were like, oh, I'm waiting for them to even go lower. And then they didn't do anything and now they have higher rates. And then, they never went into home ownership. So at some point, you really have to take a look at that and kind of see, what makes sense for you. So I know that's kind of a general question answer, but it really does.
Yep. It's for you, David.
A tiny house. Well, there's going to be requirements for minimum square footage, how the property is going to be zoned. So that's really dependent. If you're trying to buy like a little, 6x6 house, I don't think that's going to work, to be honest with you. But Oh, you can always check out the VA handbook for that. I know personally, we've never done anything for tiny homes. You can buy modular manufactured homes, but they typically have a minimum square foot requirement. There's also zoning requirements for these properties to get an occupancy cert. Some tiny homes that I've seen are normally like on trailers. They put them on land, right? And then they hook them up that way. So again, sometimes they're like, it's like a park where they have them. So it's just going to depend on the local zoning and the size of the property.
This is for you, Nate, David.
I need help. I need help. Someone committed larceny and took my property. My father was a Vietnam veteran. So I think, well, when it comes to that, obviously you want to talk to law enforcement and talk to your insurance company about that, and then kind of go from there. I don't know if your father is alive or not. I think this one's the tricky question. I definitely need to know a little bit more information on this.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great info. Yep. Appreciate it. This one's for
Oh,
you, David.
this
I'm
is from
sorry.
earlier, but yeah, so you can get grants for home modification, like if you're doing a renovation. And also remember, the VA also does specially adapted housing. That is a great benefit. Just go to the VA's website. I'll actually pull that up right now and drop a link to the VA home loan section of the circular. Always make sure you guys are checking out the VA's website with this. They definitely have some good information, even though
Yep.
technically they don't do mortgages. But I just dropped that link in the comments for the official VA website, so you guys can check that out.
Yep. And make sure you go over to Dave's YouTube channel. I put it in the link in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe. Like David said, he has I think he got over 138 videos,
Yeah.
126, 138 videos on his channel, and to include these live streams. So a lot of good information that he's giving out. All right. How do I know my PTSD stressor event is sufficient for service? So, okay. So it has to be confirmed. You can get a diagnosis for PTSD, but it has to be confirmed. So let's just say someone in your unit died. What was the name of your unit? What year did you serve? And who was the person that died? They'll confirm it. You can also claim PTSD due to combat. What they're going to look for, they're going to go right to the DD 214. Were you in Iraq? Were you in Southwest Asia, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan? Okay, that's where you go. Oh, just talked about that. Close friend lost their life in Iraq. I was on active duty at that time. So you can claim PTSD due to your friend losing his life in Iraq, and you can claim it due to combat in Iraq. You say you was on active duty at that time. So I'm assuming that you weren't in Iraq. Your friend was in Iraq and passed. So it would be 0781. I just did a video on the updated form for the 0781 for this particular case. All right. Can a Vietnam veteran XUR? What does that stand for? You know what that is? Dave?
No.
XUR? Never heard of that. Okay. This is you, Dave.
I'm 100% PNT and my credit score is 630. Would it be easy for me to qualify for a V loan? That is a loaded question. I feel like some. So the thing is that you definitely would have to submit an application for us to take a look at it. And down in the description, you guys can reach out to me and schedule a time. I also did a video on 100% permanent and total. You can use that. That is income that you can use to actually qualify for a VA home loan. And surprisingly, a lot of people, Dwayne, don't realize that that income can be used right away. As soon as you receive it, you can use that income to qualify for a property. Furthermore, lenders typically will gross up that income, giving you even more money to qualify. But at the end of the day, it has to be looked at your financial picture. I think credit is not a big deal. Technically there's no minimum credit score per the VA, but it's just basically going to be, in a typical mortgage, when you look at it, it's just like anything that you're trying to apply for. What's your debt load look like? If you make $4,000 a month, but you have $4,000 in payments every month, that's going to be a little bit tough, right? So it's just how you manage your finances and your liabilities. That's what's going to help you determine, or help us determine, what you can qualify for. So I'll tell you that best thing to do is just schedule a call. It doesn't cost anything to talk to me. I'm happy to talk to you. And at
Yep.
least we can go over it.
So this is a part of the question is for you, and then I'll take the second part.
Okay. Can a sailor who did 6 years in the Navy Reserve qualify for a VA home loan? As long as you have enough points, yes, then you'll be able to qualify. So best thing to do is you can always schedule a call with me, and I can help you get your certificate of eligibility. Because sometimes if you're in the reserve, the VA may deny deny you the VA loan, but they'll deny the certificate of eligibility request because they don't have enough information, especially if you're still serving, right? If you did 6 years, got out, you need to get your point statement. And then we submit that to the VA. If you're still in and it's been 6 years, then you typically are going to need to get a statement of service.
Okay. All right. Now, Kenny, you had this was the second part. I don't know.
Oh, the second part was can you
Kenny,
submit
Vietnam
claims?
veteran.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, let me go back and do that question first. So yes, you can, but for National Guard and Reserves, it's a little bit different. Okay, than active duty. So if you were in the National Guard Reserve, you got called up to active duty, meaning you actually got a DOD DD 214. That's active duty. When you reserve a National Guard, you have active duty for training and inactive duties for training. You have LODs, line of duty statements. So it's a little bit different for reserves and National Guard. Kenny, I'm not understanding this. Can a Vietnam veteran XUR? Then you came back and said Ken V. So let me know what you mean. If you don't have the book, make sure you get the book. VA Claims
signed copy.
Success. Yeah. Signed copy. That's the link. You can also get it on Amazon. If you get on, Amazon, it will not be signed. Okay.
I was
Okay,
lucky. I got to see the signature
person.
firsthand at his house. So I see the stacks of books. They're all there, and he's just signing them. It's not a pen, people. Like he's actually signing them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not a stamp. Yeah, I'm going through.
No, it's not a stamp. Like I see, like you're just writing in them, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Can a Vietnam veteran with cancer from Agent Orange receive 100% still apply for the PACT Act? But the PACT Act itself is not a claim. It's conditions under the PACT Act, Kenny. Okay? It's for you, David.
As a spouse of a vet, am I able to qualify for a VA home loan? No, unless the veteran has passed away and you're eligible to use their VA home loan. Or if you have a power of okay. This is something important to know. Never disqualify yourself. Talk with a professional, right? We can always help you with this. Is that a veteran does not need to be employed to use the VA loan. As long as the spouse can carry the debt load of the veteran and qualify for the mortgage. So that is something that you can do, right? Not to be outside of like you can't use it, but definitely if a veteran is not working, then again, their credit will be looked at, your credit will be looked at. And as long as you make enough money, then you're able to then qualify, but you can't just go out and do it on your own.
All right, so we got about 12 minutes left. Hi, guys. Any idea what the current wait time is? No, there's no wait time for any claims. None. If it's been since March 2023, yeah, it is a long time. And one thing I tell people, before you go do an appeal or high-level review, one, know what you're doing, but understand why you're doing it. Know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because you can actually maybe go a different route and get service connected a lot sooner. So just know what you're doing and how you're doing it. All right. So been tuning into the channel. Thanks for all the support for a few months. Now love the knowledge and ammo you give to the veteran community. Yeah. So, again, David is doing it as well. So definitely appreciate it. Yep. Alex, thanks for the support and the donation. The VA is asking for new evidence for my knee claim that was previously denied. So that is called a supplemental claim. And you need what is called new and relevant evidence. In my monthly membership group, I went live and recorded for the members. I didn't talk about the actual 0995, the supplemental claim form. I went over the instructions. In that instructions, it tells you need new and relevant evidence. If you were previously denied and you submit that 0995 without new and relevant evidence, boom, you don't pass go. You do not get $200. That's what it is, monopoly. Can I submit the approval rating for my knee and hip that gave? No, that's not new and relevant evidence. New is evidence that they never seen before, and relevant evidence will be for the knee. How do you get it? Go to your local urgent care. If you watch my video on how to go to VA's website, find the urgent care in your area where you just show your VA ID card, no copay. You tell them your knee hurts. You get the progress report. That's new and relevant evidence. Okay. I think that's for you. I don't see anything else before that, Dave.
No, I don't.
Okay. So would it be advisable to wait until that's you, Dave? I'm sorry.
Oh, would it be right to wait until after someone to start the home buying process in case of significant rate cut? Been waiting 3 years. What's another month? So I will go back to my standing statement. If you're waiting for interest rates to drop, and all your friends are waiting, and everybody in the country is waiting for interest rates to drop, what happens when interest rates drop? Everyone's going to be buying houses.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say everyone's buying houses. Some people are like, I'm never doing it. And this is, by the way, like clockwork. And this is my opinion, but like I see this. If you're waiting for rates to drop and then all of a sudden all your friends and everyone jumps in to buy a home, it's a simple law of supply and demand. If the supply stays the same, but demand doubles, what happens to the price of the supply? It goes up. And it negates any savings that you would have had by having a lower interest rate. I preach it because I did it, right? It's not like I sit here and go like, oh, you need to do this. Like, I'll never do it. Like, no, I did that, right? I bought a place in December. Like when it was bad, like quote unquote, people say it's bad time. I'm like, whatever. Like if you can afford to make the payments, okay, get yourself in because you can always refinance, right? What do they say? Like date the rate, marry the mortgage, something like that, where like you date the rate, you marry the house, right? Like your house is what you want, right? You putting yourself in a stable position. That's what most people want home ownership for, right? Building equity, long-term equity in the property. It's generational wealth. Because the longer you wait, the higher the values have gone up. And RV, not to say, I'm like 3 years ago, home values are much lower than they are today. So you know what I'm saying? Like you could, you have opportunity cost that goes with it. Everything you do in life is going to have some type of risk associated with it, right? And if you're planning to flip a house like in a year, it doesn't make sense unless you're like a contract, unless you can work on the house, fix it up and flip it. But if you're planning on staying somewhere long term, then waiting, and plus, even if you start looking right now, I mean, it's probably going to take you a little bit to find a house. And then maybe you find the house before September 18th. And then you can at least, at that time, lock the rate afterwards. But I warn you, if they don't drop the rate with all this hype, I predict rates are going to go up. And then you're going to be like, well, I have to wait another 15 years to buy a house. I'm being dramatic there, right? But I'm just saying, like, you have to look at it from your lens. Can I afford today's market? There's opportunity costs by not executing when you have affordability. When rates, if you guys go to whatever search engine you go to, type in like a mortgage calculator, and I want you to see what the payment difference is for where you're comfortable with the price of the house you want to buy. But just remember, when the rates drop, values go up. So add more money to that purchase price and see what the rate difference in savings is going to be. You're going to be pleasantly surprised, like on my earlier statement. Not much benefit because values go up, rates go down, payment stays the same.
Yeah. We got 108 individuals.
Awesome.
Hopefully, Chris, if you're still here, let us know how many likes we got. We need to at least have 100 plus likes. This is for you, David.
If a service member was discharged with other than honorable, but did reenlist before discharge, can they still be eligible for a VA home loan? You're saying like you re-enlisted and then got a other than honorable discharge? That this one is definitely something that we would have to take a look
More
at and
information.
request
Yeah.
yeah, we would like yeah. I don't want to go hypotheticals on this because it is based on each individual person. And basically, we would have to take a look at that, call the VA, submit all the documents to them, and work with them to get that. Now, some veterans, Dwayne, have you guys seen or done videos on veterans upgrading their discharge?
Yep. I did one where I was showing individuals how to go to the VA's website and apply.
That's awesome because
But you still, you still have to go through your branch. Once you get that, fill out that documents, you fill out that form. I think they let you print it, but then they'll say send it. If you're in the Navy, send it here. If you're in the Army, send it here.
okay, which is smart. Like if you got other than honorable discharge, you should definitely take a look and take advantage of that because sometimes
Mhm.
it can be PTSD or mental related and.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. This is something I definitely, Rob, definitely hit me up for.
Yeah. For Dwayne, if I have a sleep apnea rating and the new criteria comes out, am I still safe if the VHA wrote that symptoms have improved, but CPAP's still needed? Yep, you're good. You're good. That is, what I've been telling people. The VA told us about this back in March, April 2022. I just did a video where they're saying it's going to be implemented April 2025. So if you don't have tinnitus, you don't have sleep apnea, you don't have a mental condition, and you're fighting with the VA, you want to step it up because if they implement those changes in April, they don't have the instructions on how they're going to do it, but it's coming. It's like that lady is 9 months pregnant. That baby coming.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's, I think it's the
whether you
same
want it
thing
or
with
not.
like the housing piece to that is like, don't procrastinate. Like if you're
Right.
going to do something, do it because things are constantly changing. And guess what? It's easy to be like, oh, it was in my favor. But a lot of times they're out to get us, man.
Yep. So we got 117 people. Let us know how many likes we got. So evening, gentlemen. Thank you both offering this free education for all veterans. Not a problem. Quick question, Dwayne. When it comes to VA, there's no such thing as a quick question. I have 2 DBQs and working on the third. Is it too many for an increase? No. Just got to make sure they're filled out correctly. If you submit them, also look at 38 CFR 3.326 subpart B, subpart C, because if they're sufficient, they're not supposed to request a C&P exam. But most veterans that don't either like their job or not advocates for you or lack of training, they are still scheduling those exams when they're not supposed to. All right, Dave, this for you.
Can a son of a veteran get assistance for housing? It just depends on, there's all types of housing programs that exist. You want to first check with the VA to see if they have anything. Talk with the VSO, talk with the VFW, and see if there is any type of assistance programs that they would be able to benefit from.
All right. So we got a couple minutes left. Thank you for the support to the book. Tammy, definitely appreciate it. Make sure you go out to Google my business and leave a Google review and let other individuals know what you think about the book. All right. So we're in rapid fire. We got like
Oh, yes. Let's
almost a
wrap it.
minute. Hey, the mental health CMP exam today. Hopefully it went well. My provider did not show to the, oh, wow. I called and complained and notified the VA, got a new appointment. There you go. There you go.
Perfect.
There you go. Stay with it. If a non-combat veteran that joined during the time of war and the PTSD stressor is fear of fighting terrorists, can the veterans? Yep, I already talked about that earlier. Just make sure I'm claiming PTSD due to fear of hostile military terrorist activity while serving in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's you, Dave.
For a home loan trust, so like I mentioned earlier, and this is also something you want to talk to an attorney about. Attorneys do these, and you can also search online to see if a company will help you. basically a trust. You're able to, if you have it in your name, you can put it in a trust to protect your assets, your property, all that good stuff. But again, you got to speak with an attorney about that. And you can, in most places, from what I've seen, is that you can still keep your homestead exemption by putting a property in a trust. So if you qualify for a property tax exemption, you still get to keep it with that.
Yep. Phil, yes, but where does the sleep apnea fall under the 5 ways of service connection? Tammy, I'm not going to pull it up, but no problem about misspelling my name. So, everyone, we are at the hour session or
Yeah.
the end of the hour. So Chris was like, "Hey, yeah, 7:55, only 87 likes. Okay, so we got
We got more. We got 102. Chris is already asking
99.
about a 4-hour live stream. What's going on with that?
Oh man, it had to be Chris, right? Chris is that
Yeah, it had to be
is that
Chris.
is that kid that stay after class and ask you like, what is E equals MC squared or something like that. You know, he always has a question, but good questions though. He always brings some really
Oh yeah.
good questions. So thanks everyone for joining in this evening. Definitely appreciate it. Dave and I, we did talk about doing another live stream. I tell you what, leave us a comment on David's channel and my channel. Let us know when you all like for us to do it during the week. If it's during the week, we can't do 4 hours unless it would have to be like during the day, you know, and we do have
You do a
companies
job.
that we run. So be a little bit hard. But you know, on a Saturday, you know, we did the last one on a Saturday. Obviously we wouldn't do it on a holiday weekend or something like that. But you know, we have been talking about it. So yeah, let us know when you all would like for us to do it, you know, next month sometime. And yeah, then we go from there. Dave, I'll give you the last word.
No, I appreciate it, Dwayne. Thanks for having me on again. Again, if you guys are thinking about refinancing, looking at that option, schedule a call with us. Always happy to help and at least point you in the right direction. But you guys have an awesome evening, and we'll talk soon.
All right, take care, everybody.